Good morning. Welcome everybody to this year's Lean Conference. My name is Karsten. I will be your host today. And it's so great that you make time today for your growth, your learning, sharing experiences, getting to know new people, networking. I love the buzz outside. So how is everybody this morning? Everybody good? Yes, okay. Excellent. I know it was a lot of traffic. I'm a coach, a CIO advisor, a consultant, a leader for many years. Fun fact, I worked and lived on 4 different continents. So if you hit me up for a coffee later, I'm happy to share some insights there. But what is way more important is this is a team effort, and it's a big team behind this. I especially also want to thank Inge and Sebastian Hanschke, who founded Lean42 and started the whole conference theme, I think 8 years ago or so. I think right about that, Sebastian? Yeah. So many years, many successful events. And I want to have a special thank you to Nane. So everybody do a big round of applause to Nane, because without her, this would not be possible. So I know a lot of you were in touch with her. So, and if you have anything that you have questions about, don't bother Nane, bother somebody else. Because she made so much effort into this to make this happen. But yes, feel free to ask any of us from the Lean42 team if you do have questions or need any help anywhere. So most of you know what we do, but just like a quick thing, we are a CIO advisory. We bring in Lean Agile as kind of like the ground foundation of most of the things that we do. We do strategic work. We do strategy consulting, management consulting, enterprise architecture, and the governance, risk control, or security space. And it's something where we bring in lots of practices. I was last week, actually. I was in Portugal on vacation, but I was on a call with a client around information security, and can you help me with the strategy and setting it up? And I said yes, the strategy side is something we do, but when it comes to the specific injection to Trojan systems or any of the implementation, that's what we're out of the picture. And I kind of showed him, okay, I have some best practices, and opened one of my PowerPoints, and he was like, wow, this is a lot. And he saw kind of at the bottom 80 pages of PowerPoint on just information security strategy. And he was like, wow, you bring in a lot here. So it is something where we have lots of best practices and material that we bring into our consulting engagements. Just that as a reference here. And it's something where today, but also we do a bunch of other things where we really want to grow the community of IT leaders, empower people, and grow the community of enterprise architects. And that is where we do have a bunch of on-demand courses already available on our Lean Academy. We started that a year ago. We do monthly, with Gene and I, do a monthly LinkedIn Live, where it's more like a fireside chat, where we do have experts, some of you in the room were already there or are upcoming. So it's something where we chat about the industry, what's going on, what do we see, to really kind of have also informal exchanges. And that's also why we have these conferences, because content and learning is one part, but it's also about the human connection and making new friends, new connections that also work and you can rely on or help with in your tasks. We do this mainly in Europe. We're expanding a little bit in the US as well, but most of our customers, these are all customers we worked in the last 1.5 years or so. So it's something where we're not industry expert in the energy sector or finance or any of that. So we're not the ones that are specific to one industry. It's really where we make it work. That's why also we come in with the Lean Agile approach for any size and any organization. It's really something where we tailor our best practices to fit kind of your organization. And it is something where we have lots of clients in the DACH region, if you look at it, but it's expanding beyond that. Some housekeeping for today. So you all got to know kind of like you made your way around like the foyer. The restrooms are right in this direction. So if you need to go there, and also that is where the track 2 is located. But I want to give a big round of applause to the exhibitors because without them, this would not be possible. So thank you for all the sponsors that make this event happen. And because I'm coming to that in a second later as well, but we want to do more on like mission and purposeness. And we at Lead 42 also want to reduce our carbon footprint. And one of the things to do that is that's why all our buffets are now vegetarian. It is something we experienced already last night. Very delicious food. So just that as a side note here. Because of travel schedule, you all know kind of like the NATO going on, so we had to do one switch so that Tamara is actually going back to London in time. So we have Tamara here at 12 and Alexander on maturing the EA practice with EA services at 2. So that's like one switch. Just to let you know about that. But I would highly recommend to also go to Alexander's talk. It's something where you can also see some of our best practices come in because of like the EA services is actually also, we brought in like 30 plus best practice services and then we kind of like trimmed it down to what works for the organization. But there's like many other good ones out there. It's something where we are very proud to have a very good roster of experienced people from various organizations, give you insights into different aspects. And it's also something where we built in good like coffee breaks and networking sessions in there as well. It's also something where for here, you have to deal with me. So every track that's here is hosted by me, so I'm the MC here. There's also a couple things that I want to point out at the end, so it's worthwhile to stick to the end. We have great presentations till the very end. We are not the ones that say, okay, then everybody leaves after the coffee break. We deliberately put high quality things at the very end. If you want to get a break from me, after lunch is your chance. We have like 3 talks at the other conference room that will be hosted by Fabian, who's in the back there. So if you have any questions there, Fabian is your guy. So today's conference, Technology Innovation, Supercharged Business Outcomes. How do you like supercharged? Yeah, okay, let's try this again. Do you like to be supercharged? Yeah, much better. So it is something where I just want to make sure like we always also think about like the business outcomes. It's kind of like about why we do things. What's in it for them? What's in it for our stakeholders? Always the business purpose and the outcome is kind of like the one that should drive us. It's not technology for the purpose of technology or innovation just because I want to do something new. No, it always has to be with a reason behind it. And I was at the buy-in banking industry architecture network panel discussion. So what is? Can somebody tell me what's common and so wrong about this picture? Just shout. Sitting next to each other. Pardon? Yes, it's like there's one woman in there, like 10%. So it's like one woman. And that is something where we can do better, and we have to do better. As an industry, as like IT leaders, we have to do better. And it's something where I'm very proud that like 50% of our speakers are women. Diversity matters. It's something that you do for your team, for also the outcomes. You're more successful with a more diverse team. So it is something where I highly recommend you to look out and see how can you grow people, how can you make sure we build a bigger capacity in a diverse scenario. Thank you. And it's also something, like, I put in like a little side note here from my dad. He actually wrote about software diversity in like the 80s, with like a completely different mindset, diversity from computer language, operating systems, and how to make systems more fault tolerant, and with that more successful by doing like completely different approach, like also different teams from different like continents was kind of like his thing, but also like different languages and things. And he found out that it's like way more successful if you have like diversity in there. So it is something that diversity is not only kind of like the gender, it's like so many things that are feeding into this. So if we look at the, so I need to like speed up a little bit so that we get back on time. So Romina gets here on stage on time. So if we look at like the strategic and growth leadership, if we look at like VUCA, I think most of you kind of like know, it's like volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And yes, like it has been a time where it's been more stable and it's getting more and more crazy. And we had like yesterday, I think the conversation also like we have like now war going on and like energy crisis and so many things and the climate crisis that like my generation for most of their life did like we lived in peace and like everything was way more stable than what we experienced the last couple of years. So it's accelerating there. If we look at what how to grow yourself and what are habits that you can put in. If I looked at kind of like my upbringing, it was kind of like you work hard, you be passionate, you be grateful. Like it was kind of like practices that were very good in the more stable side. But with VUCA coming in, what is it that you now need to do? Is it still just work hard, focus on your strengths, practice, be grateful, you will be successful? No, you won't. So it's something that we need something new. And that is where Brandon Bouchard wrote a great book on kind of like the high performance habits. He identified 6 habits on what you need to practice to become a high performance leader. And the number one is not only the number one because he thought it's a good order or he needed to bring it in any order, but it's like also the number one to start with. It's the clarity. It's the attention. It's like the offense. It's something where you need to make sure what do you want, what is kind of like driving you. And it is something where we not only need to be aware of kind of like ourselves and what do we want and what is kind of like our internal purpose or what do we want to change in the world, but it's also something where we always need to think about the future. Like what do I want in 3 months, 6 months, 3 years? Because the intention and the clarity about where I want to go is something that we so often miss. And something where if you look at your day-to-day, very often, like I have to catch myself there very often, like you wake up, you open your laptop or my MacBook and you are going through your emails and what's my calendar? And you're like in reactive mode, you're in defensive mode. You're not into what is my intention, what do I want to do? What is like that really moves the needle into the direction that I want to go? And it's also something where the energy is something I also highly recommend you to think about, like what brings you health and joy. I was yesterday at the beer garden at Viktualienmarkt in downtown Munich and taking their friends, and we had a lovely dinner, and they were asking me, what is the best food? And like I showed them different options. So, what are you getting? I said, like, yeah, salad. What? What are you getting a salad? It's like, yeah, I have a conference tomorrow, and I need to be at my best. I need to perform on stage. I'm getting a salad. This is like what is best for me and what brings kind of like the joy for today and make sure that you all get the best out of today. So it is something where we can bring in the intentions, we can bring in kind of like the energy. We need to also look at or combine it with kind of like the necessity, the why, the urgency, and make it something, yeah, this is really something that I want, and that kind of like brings you forward. So these are all, like the first 3 are more internal, the other 3 are more kind of like social. You need kind of like the productivity, the influence, the courage is always kind of like defining that in your interactions with the social side. I'm not going into all of them in details. If you want to know more, go for the book. The last point I want to make is kind of like the purpose. It is something where, especially like enterprise architecture, but also IT leaders. It's something where in the past we've been focused on what's your goal, how can I get there, how can I be the best and successful. But it is something, we are a community that brings in together so many parts of organizations, and it is really something where we want to have purpose and be the best for the organization. It is not something where we want to be the best at the organization. It is something we want to make sure that our surroundings get like the best and are going into the best direction. And that is where the purpose comes in, the impact and not success. It is something where we want to think more long-term, where we want to focus more on what is good for people. And like when you think of like very often, lots of like the clients are also, yeah, I'm like in this politics game here. Step outside of it and think what is the best for the organization. And sometimes you lose in a politics game, but you need to work on what is like best, and if you strive for that and encourage others and are the role model there, then it's also something where you kind of like change your world. Not the world is like a big thing to change, but your world. So all this is, I know it's hard. It's you're probably listening and like, yeah, that makes sense. But it's really hard to move from like the common sense to the common practice and like, oh yeah, I get this. I'm now doing this as a regular thing. So it's something where I myself put reminders in my phone that like every day kind of like pop up and give me something like live, love, matter. I do have like a couple other friends that I talk to, and they have like health, productivity, and relationships, or something like you can also always do something like find what works for you, but it's something where we want to make sure, or you can like be reminded, okay, how can I be your best self for your partners, your family, your work colleagues, to really perform at your best and make this a better world. And with that, I thank you, and it's like with the quote, motivation is what gets you started, but habits is what keeps you going. So it's something to get motivated today, share with your peers, colleagues, friends, insights from today. It is something about also like sharing is caring, so think of like every talk that you listen to, what are points that you can take away, implement in your day-to-day life or day-to-day work life, and also, is it something that I can share with like a colleague, a partner in crime in different areas, a friend, a neighbor? We had like the neighbor discussion yesterday, just seeing that here. So it is something where the sharing is something that is very important, and that's why we are all also here to learn, but it's also something that we can do and share with others what we learned.